Buenos dias, estudiantes. Well, tonight we're going to be looking at Spanish subject pronouns. Okay, so before we jump into what the pronouns are, we need to review what a subject is. So remember, a subject does the action of a sentence or in a sentence. Okay, so I put some really simple English sentences here. Anna writes, Pedro reads, Felipe talks. Okay, so since Anna is doing the action of writing, she is the subject. Okay, she's the subject. Because Pedro reads, he is the subject. And Felipe talks, he is the subject. Okay, so they're all subjects. Now, it just happens that these subjects are proper nouns, and that means those are the specific names of these subjects. If you don't want to use proper nouns, your other option is to use subject pronouns, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. We're not going to be focusing so much on the proper nouns on this video, but probably on a different one, most likely. So, let's go back to Anna writes. If I didn't want to say Anna per se, if I just wanted to use a more general subject pronoun, I would refer to Anna as she. So I would say she writes, okay? She is a subject pronoun. A subject pronoun replaces a subject proper noun, okay? Makes it more generic. Okay, Pedro reads. If I wanted to replace Pedro with a subject pronoun, Pedro would be replaced with he, and you would get he reads. And then lastly, we have Felipe. Felipe talks. If we want to replace the proper noun Felipe with a general subject pronoun, we would use he. He would be the subject pronoun that we would pick, not she, because Felipe is a boy. So he talks. Okay, so your subject pronouns are pronouns that take the place of proper nouns as the subject of a sentence. Okay, the subject pronouns will be doing the action of the sentence. Okay, all right. I'm sure this is a review for you guys, but let's just move on. Okay, so here's a nice little list, a little poster thing I found online. Just gives you a nice glance of what the subject pronouns are in Spanish and in English. And we're going to go over them again in just a second on the next screen. But I just wanted you to see them all nicely laid out. Let's see. Okay, so in English, you have I is, your first person subject pronoun. In Spanish, it's yo. Yo is how you say I in Spanish. And then you already know tu because you've been memorizing that on your conversation sheets. But tu is the subject pronoun for you familiar. Okay? Now the way you say he in Spanish is el. But look right here, you got to make sure you put the accent mark on it because, as you know, L without an accent mark means the. So those accent marks are real important. Okay, the way you say she is ella. Make sure you don't say Ella because that's a very popular name right now. But remember those double L's, say ya, ella. That's how you say she. And usted you know already, but usted is the formal way we say you, the formal way. Okay, now we, in English, we have one we, but in Spanish you, of course, have two we's. Two we's, that sounds funny. Okay. Now, the first we is, let's say that you're a girl and you're hanging out with maybe your three friends that are guys. And you want to say, we are reading a book, okay? If you're with mixed company, if it's a group that is mixed gender, boy, this pen writes big, mixed gender, okay? You're going to use nosotros that ends in os, okay? So I always call that a mixed group or mixed gender group. Sorry, that's so messy. Also, if you were a guy and you were just hanging out with a bunch of guys, so if it was an all-male group, this is going to be really messy. An all-male group, you would use nosotros to say we, okay? So your two reasons you're going to use nosotros with an os on the end is if the we you're talking about is an all-male group or it's a mixed group. Okay, like there's one girl involved. One girl, and it has to be nosotros. Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering when you use nosotras. Nosotras is not used that often because it's only for an entire group of females. Now, it can be female cats, or it can be all female humans, but it has to be a complete group of all females to make up that we. So, in Spanish, we have two we's. We have a we for all male, and we have a we for all female groups. And then we have a we, the same we, for the mixed gender, male and female. Okay? And I know it might be a little confusing right now, but we're going to go over it again in a few minutes. Okay. In our Spanish class, and just in Spanish in general, we have decided as a collective body to ignore the vosotros form. So we're just not even going to worry about that. There's a small area in Spain that uses the vosotros. Actually, a lot of Spain uses vosotros, but Latin America doesn't, and since that's our main influence, we just ignore this. So we're going to skip vosotros and go right to they. Okay, and again, they in Spanish has two forms. Okay, they're right here. And just like the nosotros and nosotras, this they is for a pure female group, and this ellos they is if you're they, if like you're talking about people who are like maybe a brother and a sister, and you're saying they are coming to visit. If the they is a mixed group, you would use ellos if it's male and female. Or if you were maybe talking about two brothers, they were coming, an entire male group, you would use ellos. So just like up here with nosotros, mixed gender would use ellos for they, or an all-male group would use ellos as they. Ellas is they, but it's only referring to an all-female group. Okay? I don't know why they have to make all these distinctions, but they do, but you're going to get the hang of it, and it's really easy. Don't worry about it. Okay, so the last one is you all, which in Texas we like to say y'all. Okay? So this is when you're talking to, like, your friend or several friends. You're going to say, you all come with me to the store. You all, you're addressing all of them. Okay? You all come with me. The way we say that in Spanish is ustedes. Ustedes. You all come with me. So, really the trickiest ones on here are just nosotros, nosotras, and then figuring out the two forms of they. Okay? So, no big deal. Let's go on. I thought this was a funny little poster, so I wanted to put it on here. It kind of shows you with pictures what the subject pronouns represent. So here's the guy, he's saying, oh, look, it's me. I'm all by myself. I'm singular. It's I. This is representing I. And then this one, it's showing him pointing to, like, a younger kid. So he's using the familiar you. I'm just going to put a you here, okay, for that one. That's familiar you, because see how he's like a little kid. And then for you formal, you see this guy talking to someone who is older. I guess that's like a grandpa or something. So this is going to be formal you as usted. That was cute. And then for he, notice the accent mark. He's pointing to the guy with the muscles. Then down here, ella is talking about she, the lady here sitting at the table. Okay, then up here I like how they did the pictures. A group of all guys is going to use nosotros for we. And then a group of all girls is going to use nosotras for we. And honestly, you don't use nosotras very often because it's usually a mixed group. Yeah, it's usually a mixed group when you say we. So, anyway, I mean, you do use it, but not as much as you use nosotros. Okay, so both of these mean we. But just remember that you have the all-female version, and you have the mixed group, or all-male version. Okay? Okay, we're going to pretend like vosotros does not exist. Ustedes means you all. Like, you all come to the party. And then ellos is the male form of they. Talking about a group of all male. Or a group of mixed male and female. I'm just going to put mix, F and M, from feminine and masculine, mix. And then ellas is they also, but it's just referring to a group of females. And like I said, it doesn't have to be human. It could be cats or chickens or whatever. Okay, So I just love this. I thought this was cute. So he, she, well, that looks like a crazy mess. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, this looks very nice and neat now. So generally, you're going to have this box that you're going to be dealing with, and it's always going to look like this, and it's always going to be arranged like this. I want you to get used to the order that it's in. For the subject pronouns, the yo form always comes in that top box right here, and then the to form is next, the you familiar, and then next you have the he, the she, and the you formal are in the other box. And now this is kind of considered the singular side. Oh, this is like a singular. And this over here is kind of considered the plural. Well, I just messed that up. Plural side. Okay? So all of these are singular on this side, and on the right side it's all plural. Okay, so then you have the two forms of we, the male and the mixed form, or the all feminine form. And then you have they masculine or they mixed. Then you have they feminine. And then down here you have you all. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to show you, take it one step farther and look at this. If you're given a sentence about Marcos, I want you to be able to immediately assign a subject pronoun to the proper noun. So if you're given a sentence about Marcos, you need to know that that is a he. Okay? If you saw Anna and I, like Anna and I are going to the store, Anna and I make up a we. Okay? If you're talking about mom and dad, they make up a they, right? Now Pablo and Steve, they make up a they. And the boys, they make up a they. Okay, now let's go back and look at these in Spanish. So Marcos would be a he, so you would use the Spanish subject pronoun él with him, okay? That's what you would replace it with. Anna and I, now if you're a girl and you're like me, Anna and I, we would make a nosotras, a female we. But if you're a boy, that means your I is male, and you're always going to make a mixed group. So you would use the nosotros to say we in this case. Then if you're talking about mom and dad, that would be a mixed group. So you're going to use the mixed they, which is ellos. Pablo and Steve is an all-male group, so you're going to call them, that would be the male they, all male. And then also the boys, if we're talking about the boys, the subject pronoun you would use to replace the boys would be ellos. Okay, I know this video was a little bit longer than our normal ones, but I just wanted to make sure you understood everything. Go to your lesson assignment and see what I have for you there, and I'll see you in next class. Hasta luego.